Hi there, I'm Haley. This is the Knitweekend podcast. We're gonna have that kind of show. My co-host Sweet Georgia Brown is over here. And that's her saying hello to her brother, Buster Brown. Duncan, my husband, is at a hockey game, so I am home with both Browns. And well, we'll see what kind of circus this ends up being. Anyway, let's maybe hit restart on this take. About Rhinebeck, off the beaten path, and also, is it really as overwhelming as everybody says? So if you're interested for a little bit of a different take on a Rhinebeck recap, grab something cozy, something to knit, something to crochet, and meet me back here. So I am about a week post my Rhinebeck, and feeling re-inspired, feeling reconnected with this amazing community, and ready to sit down and have a good catch up with you. So, if it's your first time landing here because the Rhinebeck theme is populating into your YouTube and the algorithm suggested me to you, it is great to meet you. I am a knitter located in Nashville, Tennessee. I live here with my husband and our two furry pets, Sweet Georgia Brown, who is my co-host, and Buster Brown, her brother, and she doesn't like to own. Sorry, they have been having issues today. I have tried to film 3 times and we have had dust ups. So I am hoping that the third time is a charm. I have a hard enough time just getting my own thoughts together, much less like trying to manage their drama in the middle of a podcast episode. So it's been a little topsy-turvy so far today. Before we get into all the Rhinebeck-ish, because this is like a Rhinebeck adjacent episode more so than a Rhinebeck recap. But before we get into all the Rhinebeck-ish stuff with it, which I'm hoping I can do in a very organized and cohesive manner, I did have a few things that I wanted us to catch up on since it's been a minute. The first thing is I owe 2 of you patterns. So if either of these are you, I owe you the Easter egg pattern. So if you will email me knitweekend@gmail.com, I will connect you with your Ravelry pattern of choice. So I'm sorry that I ghosted, but I am a woman of her word, and so I do want to follow through on that. So these 2 folks, go ahead and email me so that I can connect you with your Ravelry pattern. Next up, destash. This might just be like a post yarn fest tradition that I'm starting on this podcast, and since you guys are my closest friends, I will list these on Ravelries, but you all being my closest friends, I want to give you all first right of refusal. So I am going to destash 2 quantities of yarn. Let's see. The first is this Paca wool from EchoView Fiber Mill. So this is a 2-ply Aran weight wool, and it is, let's see, did it focus at all for you so you could see it? Okay, 2-ply Aran weight wool, and this is 140 yards per 100 grams. The recommended gauge is 18 stitches, and the recommended needle size is 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter. 75% alpaca, 25% merino. I also just unlocked a new life skill. I read that backwards off of that screen. So, kind of impressed with myself right now. I have 11 skeins of this. This is only just part of it. I have 11. So it's going to be $90 for the lot plus shipping. Shipping limited to the US only because with government shutdown and tariffs, I don't want to get in any, difficult situations with the shipping. So limited to the US only, $90. You can email me knitweekend@gmail.com. I will post it on Ravelry eventually as well. Next up, I do have let's see, 5 skeins of this Camarose Lama Old, left over from this sweater. So this is 100 meters to 50 grams. And this I cannot read backwards because it's quite small to begin with. Recommended stitch gauge 17 to 18 stitches, 4.5 millimeter to 5 millimeter needle. Okay, so admittedly 5 balls, which is roughly 500 meters, may not be enough for you to knit a full project out of. However, I did check the website where I purchased this, which is out of California, and they do have 30 balls still in stock. So this could be like your starter, and then you could purchase a couple extra as needed from that website if you wanted to. I am gonna do $20 for all 5 of these plus shipping. I think they retail for $8 a piece, so it's a 50% discount. Anyway, if you're interested, email me knitweekend@gmail.com. I will also send you the direct link to the website that does still have this in stock. You would, of course, just want to contact them to deal with the dye lot issue, or do the other things that allow you to use other dye lots, like use it in, you know, your rib or someplace else where it's not going to be as noticeable. Okay, so that's the destash topic. I think I have one more thing to chat with you guys about. I'm trying to think because the next thing that I want to share with you is kind of a Debbie Downer. So just want to make sure there's nothing else that I want to chat with you about first. Okay. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't want you all to be surprised down the road. So Sweet Georgia Brown, who is here on my knee, my much beloved co-host, we did a couple months ago get a cancer diagnosis for her. It is inoperable, and we are choosing not to pursue chemo for her. And so we are treating the symptoms. She is still doing quite well. We do have her on a steroid that is basically has eliminated most of her symptoms, however, has given her a side of road rage and an extra healthy appetite. But we don't know how much longer she will be with us, so we are just trying to embrace every cuddle and put up with her screams. And I just wanted you all to be able to have that information so that if there comes a time when I share with you that she is not here anymore, then you will not be surprised or shocked, and you'll know that we have just kind of embraced every moment with her. We did kind of have like a farewell party for her where we invited all of her friends, which everybody's like, your cat has human friends. And I'm like, yes, my cat has human friends. There were 9. I think we invited like 12, and like 9 showed up. It was quite fun. And one of my friends said, every now and again you get a soul pet, and that's the pet that just like is the one that you measure everything else against, that really just speaks to your soul. And I think for me, Georgie has been that. She definitely has been my favorite pet that I have had. So it will definitely be hard when the time comes to say farewell to her, but we feel very strongly that her quality of life is what is most important. So anyway. So that's the update on Sweet Georgia Brown. So if you happen to notice that she looks a little pudgy right now, we're just not mentioning that to her, and because we don't want to make her feel bad. She can't help it. It's the steroids that are making her extra hungry and angry, hangry. So anyway, all right. I need to share with you that I really maybe wasn't planning to do a full-on Rhinebeck episode. I feel like there are so many people who do all these wonderful vlogs. I see them all. I saw them all weekend taking their video and their photos, and they're very good at it. And it is just not me. I am not a photo taker. I am not a video taker. I had Kat, I told her she was my producer and she was gonna have to tell me when it was time to take B-roll. That's how bad I am at remembering to do this sort of thing, because I just like very much live in the moment. But anyway, I posted a story on my Instagram and said, hey, do you guys want another Rhinebeck video? Because is this played out? Do you want this? And I really felt pretty strongly that everybody was going to vote no. They did not want a Rhinebeck video, but that was not the case. I only had 3 people vote no. Now, granted, there were a lot of people who didn't vote, so maybe it was a silent no. But most people did actually vote yes. I think out of 70, I had 3 vote no and then 63 vote yes. So in any case, here we are. I did ask a follow-up question, which was, if you wanted a Rhinebeck episode, what did you want to know? A few people said everything. We'd be here a very long time. But I had 2 questions that I thought were like extra thoughtful. Actually 3 questions that I thought were extra thoughtful and I wanted to answer directly. So Sarah's question was, what is there to do at Rhinebeck besides the Yarn Fest? Tell me about all the other things. Chloe's question was, is it as overwhelming as people say? My friend told me that I was not ready to deal with it. And then Tara's question was, what are you planning to knit with what you bought at Rhinebeck? So I thought those were 3 really fun questions, and I am here to chat through those with you today. Let's see, as a kind of primer, oh, we didn't talk about what I was wearing. Do you guys notice what I'm wearing? My finished Boreas sweater that only took me 10 months to finish. Anyway, I will talk more about finished objects and whips in the next podcast episode because I think that just combining those will be a little chaotic. So we'll do that next time. We're going to focus on Rhinebeck adjacent stuff for this time. So this is my second trip to Rhinebeck. My first trip was 2 years ago. It was during the year that had the torrential rain. I'm sure you all remember that. And it was, that was something else. But this is my second trip. I think that your second time at Rhinebeck, well, anytime after your first time at Rhinebeck, is arguably better than your first time at Rhinebeck. We should just go ahead and throw that out there. If you are going to Rhinebeck for the first time, chances are, because it's unlike anything you've experienced, and it's very, very easy to get caught up in all the kind of chaos that happens at Rhinebeck, you may have a bit of that overwhelm. But going back to Rhinebeck for a second time and kind of learning how to slow down and do other things made for a really great experience for me this year. I definitely, I thought I had a good time before, and I did, but like this time was like that much more. It was such a great weekend. I can't even tell you. So, I mean, I'll try to tell you, but some of it I just feel like I can't even. Anyway, so I guess we should start at the beginning, and that is with who I traveled with. I did travel with my friend Kat. You know Kat, we talked about her a lot. She used to live in my neighborhood here in Nashville. She moved to Seattle a couple of years ago, and I somehow convinced her to fly clear across the country to join me at Rhinebeck. It was her first time, so I was glad to be able to be a little bit of a Rhinebeck guide-ish for her. And we just kind of made our own adventure, which was really nice. So when you go to Rhinebeck, if you have to fly, there's kind of 2 ways that you can do that. You can either fly into the city and drive north, which is what I did last time, which involves a lot of traffic and took us about 3 hours. Or you can fly into Albany, which is what we did this time, and you can drive south. I highly suggest to you to take the Albany route. A little more expensive, but definitely worth it. And I fly on points, so for me, it's not real money anyway, right? So Albany was definitely the right choice. In fact, we flew in actually on Wednesday. So one of the things that I would highly suggest is, if you can at all, travel on Wednesday and Monday, or maybe even Wednesday and Tuesday, so that you have a little bit of buffer time in there, because like once you hop into those events, it can be full on go, go, go. But so we flew on Wednesday. So Wednesday evening, we stayed in Albany. We had a nice dinner We stayed at the Argus Hotel, which is a little boutique hotel, in a kind of brick mansion. Oh, I forgot to mention, Kat is a much better photo taker than I am. So her Instagram is the Thriving 20s. So if you want to pop over there, especially while I'm talking right now, I think she has a post or two that shows kind of some of the things that we got up to. And maybe you can kind of match the photo with the description of what it is. But so if you need a visual, her Instagram is going to be able to provide that to you, because I did not take photos, not hardly at all. In any case, we stayed Wednesday night at the Argus Hotel, which is like a really cute boutique hotel, cocktail bar, in kind of a brick mansion near one of the parks in downtown Albany. And just kind of relaxed that evening. We had a dinner out and then came back and relaxed. I pulled out my aloe sheet mask, my Korean aloe sheet mask, to have a little bit of replenishment after the day on the plane. And Kat laughed thoroughly at me when I pulled that one out. But that's okay. I have no shame. And we just kind of curled up with our knitting and put on a TV program. I think we watched 911 Nashville, which is horrendous. I won't let's not even, that's a topic for another time. And then just kind of had an easy, relaxing evening waiting for the next day. So Thursday morning we woke up and it was time to hit the road to Rhinebeck. We were staying in Saugerties, which, if you're not familiar with the Hudson River Valley area, you've got the river and then you have all these small little towns kind of along the river. And a lot of people stay in Kingston, some people stay in Rhinebeck, some people stay in Red Hook, and we stayed in Saugerties, which is kind of a little bit further away from some of the main stuff for the New York sheep and wool, but is also still an area that has a town that has events for the weekend. So it's where a woolen affair took place. It's where Cake Palooza took place. And it's just a cool little town. We stayed near the downtown area so that we could walk if we wanted to coffee shops or stores or whatever the case may be. But Thursday, anyway, we hit the road to head south from Albany to our ultimate destination of Saugerties. And we decided to take the road less traveled. Our GPS did not like it. There's 3 ways you can go south. You can take 587, which is the 3-way, which is a toll road. Be aware of that. You can take 9W, which is a highway but is not a toll road. Or you can take River Road, which is just a 2-lane road headed south that skirts all along the Hudson River. And that is the route that we chose to take. We kind of had to trick the GPS. So if you're going to take that route, I do recommend having a navigator who's going to kind of watch the GPS and reroute you if needed. The way that you can trick the GPS to allow you to go this route is, first of all, set it to avoid tolls. And secondly, look at the map ahead of time and plug in some small towns that are along River Road, as additional stops through the way. So I think I plugged in Cementon. I don't know. Is that how we pronounce it? I don't know. So you can take River Road from Albany to Catskill. And then at Catskill, you do have to then take it off of that route, and then your 9W, the rest of the way around in the area. And River Road kind of comes in and out. So in some areas, I think you can also take River Road from Saugerties to Kingston, if I recall correctly. So you can kind of hop on and off River Road throughout, the whole edge of the river, which is just a nice scenic route. There are some parks where you can pull over and just go have a view of the river and have a quiet moment. There are small towns that have cute things in them. But anyway, so I think it's really fun to just kind of literally take the road less traveled. The other thing that I would say is what we spent a lot of time doing was vintage store and antique store hopping. You guys, there are so many vintage and antique stores in this area. And if that's something that you're into, I highly recommend it. So in Nashville, vintage stores and antique stores are very expensive. People know what they have and they price them very high. In places like the Midwest, you might find something that is considerably cheaper. And I would say this kind of fell halfway in between as far as the prices go. But it is a treasure trove for vintage textiles, hand knit sweaters, blankets, all of that sort of thing you can find in mass in these areas. So 3 of my favorites that we found, which we went in several, but the 3 that I would recommend to you, mostly because I found treasures in these 3 places. The first is in Hudson. It's not in downtown Hudson. It's kind of down by the river in an industrial area. It's called the Warehouse, and it's basically a giant warehouse that has a bunch of truck bays that they have converted to be small little antique and vintage kind of pop-ups. And one of the things, if you followed on Instagram for the weekend, you would have seen that I posted that I found the mother lode of white Aran fisherman sweaters. And let me tell you, we tried every single one of those on, not in the dressing room, just in the middle of the stand, took off our sweaters and put those on. We were just too excited to try them all. And I did end up bringing one home with me. So this is the one that I purchased. Let's see here. She is a super long, like past the hips Aran sweater, just gorgeous. Definitely hand knit though. And you guys, I got this for $60. Can you believe it? $60. It's unreal. I mean, it's gorgeous. Look at that. Can you see my face all the way? But I do have a couple things to mend on her. I have a broken bind off that I have to fix. That won't be so bad. But she also had a big giant hole in her cuff. So I have already started the restoration, if you will, project on this sweater because, and I've marked it here too, I did rip the cuff back. And the good news is the sleeves were a little long, so I think I can actually do this repair with the yarn that I'm reclaiming from it. So I ripped the cuff back, 1 cable repeat, and then I'm reknitting this cuff, and then I'll do the same for this one. And then I think that will actually give me enough yarn to be able to complete the restoration. And as Michael said, I will have a new finished object because I knit on it, therefore it is my finished object, even if I only reknit the cuffs. But no, in all seriousness, like I couldn't leave this beauty behind. And there were plenty more where that came from too. I mean, just astounded. And maybe that's just the difference between being in the South where like knitting is not super prevalent and being in the North where people wear sweaters for many months out of the year. The other place in Hudson that we went, so this is like a giant warehouse, kind of like a treasure hunt type of situation. The other place that we went in Hudson is in the downtown stretch, and it is the exact opposite of that. So if that's the treasure hunt, this is like a very nicely curated gallery of vintage clothing and accessories. But I did find something that I was on the hunt for. So I had something in mind that I've been looking for in Nashville when I'm in vintage stores that I haven't been able to find. Because I think the Western theme is like very popular here, so it just goes quickly, but I thought maybe I can find something up there. So I have been on the lookout for a hand-tooled leather bag, and I was able to locate one. Kat actually noticed it in a shop called Proprietors. I don't think I said that. It's called Proprietors Vintage. It is in Hudson, in the downtown area. And just a lovely, lovely store. Kat saw this in the corner and elbowed me and said, look over there. And I did. There were people standing in front of it. I did not elbow them to get out of the way. I very patiently waited until they moved on. Now, had they grabbed it, I might have elbowed them, but luckily they did not. And I was able to come home with this beauty. Now, packing it home, I did put yarn in it. Because that was the only way it would fit, was if it had yarn in it. It is now yarnless and ready to be carried as a bag. So I'm super excited for that one too. And then the third vintage store that I would recommend is in Kingston, and it's called Red Owl Vintage. So we went to these 2 on Thursday. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Friday though, we just kind of like needed a break after we had been to 2 of the yarn events, but we weren't really ready to go home. Because it was still only like 5 o'clock, and we just thought, we're up here, we want to explore other things. So we went to 2 places. We went to Red Owl Vintage, Red Owl Collective, I think. So it is like the hip, kitschy vintage store in the area, a little bit different from both of the other two. So we had a really good variety of vintage stores. In fact, their logo is so cool. I wanted to buy their merch. They do have their own merch at Red Owl, and I was highly tempted. And so I did also find another hand knit sweater to rescue there, and it's this beauty. Look how cute she is. I'm obsessed. This is not something that I would typically knit for myself either. I don't do embroidery or applique, so it's really fun to find. And she just was like basically made for me. Look at that. Oh, I wore this yesterday and it's very, very cute. My husband was like, it's kind of weird when I looked at it, but then when you put it on, I got it. Thanks. Appreciate it. So, and she has one button that needs to be redone because this is what I love about picking up hand knits. Like the fact that one of these buttons somewhere, and I need to find the one, but one of these buttons is not even. And I just think that is the most adorable thing. It just shows that like perfection is not always the most important thing. Like you can have something that's a little bit off and nobody is going to notice it. Probably even 50 years later, they're going to be okay with it. I love that. So anyway, those are the 3 vintage shops. But if you're not into vintage shops, if that's not your thing, you don't want to have to like look through racks. Some other ideas of things to do in the area. Bookstores. This area actually has a independent bookstore hop. You can get the tote. I think it's a tote. I don't know if they have like a passport book or not. That part I don't know, but you can get a tote at one of the local bookstores, and it has the list of all the other bookstores in the area on it. They're numbered. It's a fun kind of challenge to get through. My mother-in-law actually bought the tote 2 years ago when we were there. We probably went to 5 or 6. This time we only made it to 2 just because it wasn't really something that we had a lot of time to dedicate to. But 2 bookstores that I would recommend to you. One is Rough Draft in Kingston. So actually after we went to Red Owl, we did head over to Rough Draft. And Rough Draft is a coffee shop, beer hall, bookstore, all in one. Very cool spot. It's in an area of Kingston. It's called the Four Houses. Anyway, these 4 buildings were built before the U.S. was the U.S. So they were built in the 16 and 1700s. And you definitely can feel that history when you go in. And Rough Draft feels like very much a local neighborhood spot. Mainly because they were literally handing out the local CSA vegetable bags while we were there for the week, which was fun. And they also had just a great variety of local craft beers, which I sampled. And then if you're not a drinker, they had a ton of different non-alcoholic sodas and different options too. Also, of course, all the wonderful books. So that was a fun stop. The other bookstore that we did make it to this time was in Saugerties, and it's called Inspired Minds, and that is a bookstore, again, and coffee shop together. And we did spend a little more time lingering there because we just had a bit more time to browse the books. I think we went there on Thursday. Yeah, we did. We went there on Thursday. Thursday was fun. So one of the things, I said it's nice if you can come down a day early, and then you can find some time to explore the towns that are around there because the towns just are very cute. Now, of course, you can't do all of them all in one day, but the way we split it was we did Saugerties. We once we dropped our bags at our Airbnb in the morning, we did Saugerties in the morning, had lunch, and then went over to Hudson in the afternoon. So that was kind of a fun exploration. Other towns, you've got Kingston, that's always a good town, and Rhinebeck. But if you go to Rhinebeck, just know it's going to be you and probably, 10,000 of your other friends roaming around those shops. So I think just taking some time to look at the map, find some of the other towns, maybe Catskill, maybe Red Hook, and just kind of go have a drive and explore a little bit is really a quite nice thing to do. Both Saugerties and Hudson had quite a few little shops that were fun to pop around. Time for your reward if you've stuck around, which is the Easter egg question. This one, I just want to know, what are your fall knitting plans? Give me some inspiration. Okay. We looked for restaurants that were off the beaten path because having been to Rhinebeck previously, I knew that I really wanted to be able to take time to step out of the crowds and have like a proper sit down meal. I think, you know, Rhinebeck, New York Sheep and Wool, and also a woolen fair, they all have these like food trucks, and that's great, but if you're not used to eating that way, it can be very heavy. So for me, I knew that I would want to like have an opportunity to have something green that wasn't fried. So I sort of intentionally before our trip mapped out some restaurant options. So where I found these before the trip is on apps like Resi or Open Table. And two of the ones that we booked through Resi and Open Table were Maker. Did we talk about Maker already? I don't think so. So Maker is a restaurant in Hudson. It's a boutique hotel. And they have a restaurant and cocktail bar downstairs. And it's a very cool atmosphere. It's like an observatory or conservatory. What do you call it? Where you have like the plants in the glass? Conservatory? Yeah, conservatory. So it's a beautiful space with all types of plants, you know, in a glass room and crystal chandeliers. And it's just very, very vibey. Very cool. I will say it's a little... So definitely if you're going to go there, plan to spend a little extra, and the menu is pretty limited. So if you have dietary restrictions, that can be a challenge. So that's one place that we ate. Another one that we did was Kip's Kitchen. That is in Rhinebeck, but not downtown Rhinebeck. It's out on the river. So after we did, you know, like Sunday morning at New York Sheep and Wool, then we thought, okay, let's just step out a little bit and sit down and have a nice meal. So we went to Kip's Kitchen and had a really nice brunch there. And then another place that another way that we found restaurants a lot was just on Google Maps. So you can pull up Google Maps wherever you are and punch in restaurants and then kind of look through and figure out where you might want to go. We found a place called Calcutta Kitchen for Friday? Yeah, for Friday for lunch between the kind of like a woolen affair and indie events. And yeah, so that's just a really easy way. So I would just say like, do a little research before you go in some of the apps, and then also just kind of like use Google to see what's nearby. And normally you can find photos and also ratings and reviews and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how we manage the food situation. We also had a couple nights in. So you're not in the middle of nowhere. There are a ton of grocery stores. Just make sure to bring your tote. I forget this every time I'm up there. Bring your tote. You cannot get grocery bags at the grocery store. So you got to bring a tote in. Me, I'm walking around with like my arms full of yogurt. But yeah, I'd say find out where the grocery store is near where you're staying, particularly if you're in an Airbnb with a kitchen, because it can be really nice just to like make something easy. So we had like a pasta night, and then I was able to get my yogurt for the mornings, and because it's really easy to just like eat a bunch of junk at the food vendors and then end up feeling pretty crummy. So I think just, you know, finding the grocery store and maybe having a night in to relax is also a nice alternative. We did some of that as well. All right. So I was asked what my favorite event was. And I would say hands down for me, it was the Jill Draper Open Studio. So Sunday, kind of after everything calms down, Jill Draper, who is a yarn dyer who lives in the Kingston area, does an open studio event at a park in Kingston. Sorry, I was just looking at me rather than the camera. Have I been doing that the whole time? If so, I'm sorry. I'm out of practice. Anyway, Jill Draper has an event, and it is a free event, but it is something that you do have to sign up for. You have to RSVP for it. There is a wait list. I will let you in on a little secret. If you RSVP, or if you are on the wait list, chances are you are actually going to make it into the event, because by the time Saturday rolls around, everybody has spent way too much money on yarn. They are all exhausted and they back out of the event. The other thing that I will tell you is when you do the initial RSVP, you can RSVP for up to 3 people, but when you waitlist, it's only for 1. So I did kind of have a little bit of a confusing moment, and I had to email Jill about that because we were a party of 2 and I misunderstood the waitlist thing. But it was okay. Kat RSVP'd on Friday, and by Saturday she was in as well. So it's a really lovely event. Definitely save some money, like hold some back so that you can go and not feel guilty about spending a little bit more. But Jill's yarns are incredible. The bases are all really different, so there's a little bit of something for everybody, but it is a hand-dyed, really thoughtful yarn, and it's priced as such, which I gladly, willingly paid. I did. Which kind of brings me to the next question, which was, what did you get that you're going to make something with? So what are your knitting plans post Rhinebeck? So if you go to Jill Draper and you spend a lot of money, you get a bag. And I did buy a skein that I don't have plans for, but I did buy some skeins that I do have an immediate plan for. So this is Jill's Mohawk base. Mohawk. I'm not from the Northeast, so I don't know how to pronounce these things. This is Jill's Mohawk base. And I did get this in 3 colors, and plans for this are Bao number 2. We'll talk about number 1 in the whip episode, but this is for Bao number 2. One of the amazing things about going to yarn events, fiber events, is that you get to taste the samples. I mean, I might have licked it. No, I really didn't. You get to touch the samples. And so you really get a taste. There you go. That's where I was headed, for what that yarn is going to be like in its finished state. And let me tell you, this base already feels soft. I wish you could squish it, but you can't. But once it's blocked, oh my goodness, I am just so excited. It is 100% lamb's wool. So it is just absolutely gorgeous. And I did get 3 colors to knit this up in. Okay, so that's one project that I was like unexpected. I should also say that like I went to Rhinebeck not hunting for any one specific thing, but just wanted to kind of be open to whatever was special and moved me. And so that was definitely special and did absolutely move me. Okay, number 2 is, this is something that I did not purchase last time because I just felt like it was a little bit out of my price range. But since then, my price range has expanded. Oh, you know how it is when you get like really in deep to the knitting, you stop caring about that sort of thing. Actually, this is not overly expensive. It's just not a lot of yarn for the money that it is. So, this is Boondoggle Thin Worsted, and it's a 3-ply 120 yards and 2 ounces in each skein. So, anyway, the Boondoggle Farms had a little like pattern booklet that said that you can knit a pair of mittens and a beanie, each from 1 skein. So like a pair of mittens and a beanie from this wool. And so that is what I have planned for this lovely nature black thin sheep wool. Again, this was one of those that I didn't purchase last time, but I kind of had wished that I had, so I decided to go all in for it. And the final thing that I purchased that I already have a plan for is this sweaters quantity. You guys, Kat and I laughed so hard because all day at Rhinebeck on Saturday, we like really didn't purchase much. I purchased these 2 on Saturday, and that was it. Until 4:50 p.m. Mind you, it closes at 5. So at 4:50 p.m., I purchased this. And then the seal was broken and it was all downhill from there. But this is a sweaters quantity of Green Mountain. It's the mountain mohair. It's a worsted weight, and it's 30% yearling mohair and 70% wool. And again, Green Mountain was one that I missed last time. I didn't even see it last time because it's in 22 down. and everybody goes to 22 up for the button lady, but Green Mountain is in 22 down. So I missed it last time. It was one of my biggest regrets last time of not being able to see any of it or touch any of it. And this time I decided to go for it. So what am I knitting in this? Another great thing, well, I just already said that. You get to see the samples. But this sample actually is the Vino Verde by Thea Coleman. It is not yet released. I don't even think it's being tested, but I was able to see it there. And it is like a gorgeous kind of like mock neck. You know how I love my mock neck, but like a tall mock neck. I couldn't see the top of the shoulder, but it almost looked like maybe it's going to be a contiguous shoulder, and then a little bit of lace detailing at the hem. And it was very cool to kind of see that preview. And so I am ready for whenever that comes out with this. So anyway, that is all that not all that I purchased, but that's what I purchased that I have immediate plans for. And it was so inspiring to see everybody else's kind of, you know, samples and creations and be able to say like, okay, I see that and that's what I'm going to go for. All right. Finally, the big question that I just want to be like very tender with is it overwhelming? And if so, how can you deal with that? And the answer is it can be. There are moments. There are moments where it is overwhelming, and it is easy to kind of fall into the traps of those moments, but it doesn't have to be. There are some things that you can really do to like kind of help that overwhelm and have it be a little bit easier. So these are just my thoughts. And some of these are like just my own like ways to travel in general and not have it be overwhelming. And some of them are like very Rhinebeck specific. So it's a little mix of both. One of the things I feel like I hear about every year are roommate dust ups at Rhinebeck. So, okay, listen, here's the thing. Most of us who go to Rhinebeck without, you know, like on our own, or I mean like without our families, are staying with people who we only know through the internet. And so there is a little bit of a risk, right? That maybe you don't travel in the same style. So one thing that I would say is, you know thy travel buddy and have a conversation beforehand about like, okay, this is how I travel. This is how you travel. Are you a go, go, go person, or are you a linger a little longer person? And find out kind of if you work in the same manner. And also talk about the things that you want to do, like outside of the Yarn Fest. Yes, of course, you want to do the Yarn Fest, but what are your other interests? What other things would you like to see? And, you know, what other things would you like to do? And then when it comes to the yarn festivals, really talk about, okay, which festival do you want to go to? Are you gonna try to slam in all three, if so, or all of the events? If so, you really need to like dial it in. Or if you're, you know, each event kind of has a little bit of a different flair to it or approach to the event. So maybe you guys can like just chat about that type of stuff. Have a conversation beforehand. And then that way you're going in like already kind of holding yourself back or kind of making plans for yourself along the way. Like I said, Kat and I had traveled before together a little bit. Kat stays with me when she comes to Nashville, and so I knew we would be okay, but we did still like talk about what do we want to see. We talked about fabric stores, we talked about vintage stores, and we're both those people who love to find the coffee shops, love to find the restaurants, and so, you know, we knew that we would, you know, mesh well with that. So knowing your travel partner, I think, is important. The other thing that is just overwhelming from the beginning are all the tickets. You guys, all of these are ticketed events, and the tickets all come in different forms. So some of them come in a PDF, some of them go in your Apple Wallet, some of them need to be printed. And the thing that Kat and I kept on running into, which finally I was like, okay, I'm making us a list, is that we couldn't remember who bought what and what format was it in. So I made a notes, iMessage or whatever it is, like a note, you know, that exists in the iCloud. And I added Kat to it. And we had like, okay, rent a car, Kat, email. A woolen affair, Haley, email, New York Sheep and Wool, Haley, Apple Wallet, so that we were able to like say, okay, these are where all these things are housed. And that was really key, because in those moments when you're pulling up to the different events, trying to remember who has the tickets, first of all, if one person bought for both of you, and also where are the tickets in your phone. It's a really good thing to just have. Let's see. Okay, sorry. I did make a list. Oh, okay. You guys, another tip for not being overwhelmed: let go of the expectations and accept that you're not going to see everything. I still missed things. Like, I fully intended to go and see Utopia Yarns at New York Sheep and Wool and completely missed them. Not sure what happened there, just right over my head. So there are always going to be things that you want to see and don't, or things that you had no idea about until the post Rhinebeck recaps, but just like accept in your brain already that like you're not going to see it all, and trying to see it all is a sure way to overwhelm yourself. So just go there to find the joy of discovery and let go of the expectations. Now, granted, maybe you're somebody who really, really wants that Golden Earth mug, and so you want to like beeline to that booth so that you can get them. Or maybe you're like me and you're like, man, I would really love to have some Green Mountain Spinnery, so I'm going to make it a point to seek that out. And you can do that. And you can also have a huge long list of all the things that you want to see. But I would just say the shorter the list, the less overwhelming it is. And just accepting that you can't see everything, I think, is really the way to go. Also, don't panic. Do not panic. These vendors come with a ton of inventory. So chances are, no matter when you're there, you're going to be able to get your hands on something from that vendor. I mean, like, really and truly. So I don't feel like you have to get to the booth at 9 a.m. to be able to get whatever it is that you're after. In most cases, that's just really not going to be the case. And that would lead me to my next thing. Like, don't feel the need to get to these events at 9 a.m. Don't do it. If you do not want to be overwhelmed, wait. Go have a breakfast, go have a brunch, have some coffee, go to a cool coffee shop, go to a bookstore, go to a vintage store, go do something else in the morning, and then go to the events in the afternoon. Because that 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. slot, that initial morning push, is where most of the craziness is going to happen. I saw a video, and granted, we weren't at Rhinebeck at 9. We were there at 9:30. We weren't there at 9, but I saw a video of people literally running in the door at 9 a.m. And there's just no need for that. So, yeah, if you're somebody who's concerned about being overwhelmed, like, skip that time period, go do something else, go a little bit later. Let's see. Okay. I would say remember to take time out. There's a lot of areas to take time out in a lot of different ways. So one thing that Kat and I agreed to do, so what to expect from these events is that, you know, if you're outside the main like vendor area, lots of times there's more room. But when you're in the main vendor area, particularly if you're there at peak times, it can be very, very crowded. It's very easy to lose your friends. So, and everybody kind of wants to see something different. So what Kat and I decided to do was say, okay, we're going to go in the barn. You see what you want to see. I'll see what I want to see. And then we're going to meet on the back side of the barn, or we're going to meet at the end of the row, or whatever like that. So that if we got separated, which we did, now granted, we would kind of holler at each other and say, hey, come over here and see this. But that way, if we got separated, we always knew that there was going to be a place that we were going to meet up, and we both had permission to like go do our own thing. So I think just like taking that time out at the end, and then we were able to see, oh, did you see this booth? Did you see that? And then one of them, for example, I said to Kat, like, okay, we got to go back over here because you love CVM, and there's a whole basket of CVM on the floor over here. So I think that just taking that time out at the end of the row is a really nice thing to do. Give yourself a breather. Just stay outside for a few minutes and relax. But then also, don't forget to take time out to nourish yourself. I cannot tell you how easy it is to forget to eat, to forget to drink, and to forget to rest on the weekend. And it's very easy to do all three of those things. So just listening to your body, knowing when it is that you need to take time out, because it's not normal for us to be on our feet from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. without eating or drinking. And it truly is, like very easy to get caught up in all of the fun of Rhinebeck and forget to have a bottle of water or forget to eat your lunch. So just, taking that time out, and then like being okay to just like stay in for an evening if you're feeling a little bit worn out and in kind of a funky mindset. Just stay in. Have a movie night. Make some dinner at home and have your whip and just refresh. Or if you've like had enough of knitting, just put the whip down. I actually will say we really did not knit that much on our trip. Really truly didn't. So because I think by the time you spend all day go like you might be to that point of just like exhausted, I can't knit right now. I think the final question, and then I'll tell you a funny story. I think the final question was, what would I do differently next time? Okay. There are a few things I do differently next time. And I'm hoping next time is going to be next year. I would love to be able to make it every year now. Like, I feel like now I get it. I get that Rhinebeck is about more than the yarn. I get that Rhinebeck is about the community, and it's a really lovely, lovely space for us. Us being the knitting community, not like a royal us, but the knitting community. Fiber community. It's not just knitting, the fiber community. That Haley. Anyway, what would I do differently next time? Next time, I will be bolder. I think I said this last time too. Don't know if I said it on here, but I definitely said it to friends. I can be very shy. I used to be painfully shy as a child. In fact, I can be very shy. And so next time I'd like to be bolder. I would like to say hello to the people that I, see that I want to get to know. I hope I don't come across as aloof when I don't say hello to them, but I do fear that that's the case. So I'd like to be bolder and say hello. For instance, Thea Coleman, when we saw her at a woolen affair, she said, I saw you at the antique mall yesterday. And I said, yeah, I saw you too. And she said, well, if you knew it was me, why didn't you say hello? And I was like, I'm just not that cool. I don't know what to tell you. And then we had a really lovely chat. So I wish I had, in fact, said hello to her. The other thing that I'd like to be bolder about is like, there are so many inspiring sweaters, you guys. Oh, sweaters, shawls, whatever, inspiring knitwear. I can't even tell you like that. It is the New York Fashion Week of knitwear, fiber. And I really wish I had just asked people, hey, I love your sweater. Do you mind if I take a photo? Because there were so many that now I feel like I've got to remember in my head what they did. Because like, for instance, we kept on seeing everybody with these like natural gray brown and then black color work. That was gorgeous. My favorite ooey gooey that I saw, black, natural white contrast color. Loved it. And so many others that I can't even think of now. It's horrifying. So I really wish that I had been bolder and just asked people to take photos of their sweater. Other thing that I would do the events in a different order. So this year we did a woolen affair in the morning and we did Indie Untangled in the afternoon. I would reverse those. And if I couldn't get into Indie for the morning time slot, then I might skip it all together, to be honest. I wish I had had more time to linger at a woolen affair. I was very sad in hearing everybody's kind of experience of being able to hang out with the music and just like have a good time, because when we were there in the earlier part of the morning, that wasn't going on yet. So next time I think I would maybe just do a woolen affair on Friday, or at least do that one in the afternoon. Ooh, this is a big one. I have zero, and I mean zero, desire to do Saturday New York sheep and wool before noon ever again. Like absolutely ever again. Ooh, we're about to lose the battery. This has been a long filming episode. I just won't do it. I don't think that there's any need to. What I will do next time is I will hit it at noon or after. I'll have brunch. I'll hit it at noon or after, and then I will shop on Sunday because there was still plenty left on Sunday. And then the other thing that I would do differently is I would make more time for my off-site friend moments. That was some of my favorite moments were seeing people outside of the events. And so I would definitely do more of that. Okay, well, my battery is telling me that it is time for us to wrap up this chat. Next time we get together, we will do whips and finished objects. So I just want to say thank you as always for taking the time to hang out with me. If you enjoyed this, I am going to ask this time, do the podcasty things, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, all of those things. Okay? All right. Well, thank you as always again. And I look forward to chatting with you next time. Bye.